Welcome back to the ProComps Meta Forecast. Today we'll be taking a look at patch 25.06, which features changes to Gwen, Naafiri, and many more champions.
For top lane, again, not a lot of changes other than Garen falling out of our major champions, and Camille moving back up the priority list. With first stand just concluding, we saw a ton of Jace, Mbessa, and Camille in the top lane, confirming our suspicions that carries were back on the menu for top lane. The three combined for a quarter of all games played at the event, and while they weren't the most successful, they definitely saw the best looks in draft. Mbessa's win rate was held down by being picked early in the event in weak spots, while Jace and Camille enjoyed some decent success, all things considered. Following top lane, we're going to take a look at the jungle pool for the patch. There weren't any major changes to any junglers featured at last stand, outside of a small buff to Xin Zhao, which he may have needed unless your name was HLE Peanut. Maokai and Sejuani did take the tournament by storm with very high pick rates all the way up until finals, but I'd like you to keep an eye on Vi, who's been rising up in priority after first stand, and I think she's going to end up being one of the best junglers soon. Again, not a ton has changed on the patch as we wait for the new thematic season to begin shortly. Azir is rising up the leaderboard after a strong showing at first stand. He boasted a 67% win rate as the highest pick mid laner at the event. While he wasn't as heavily featured as a champion like Azir, Victor was seeing a decent amount of play. Expect to see more of him as we move toward a more standard front-to-back teamfighting meta. Ahri saw a small appearance alongside Victor being piloted by players like Zeka and Vladdy to the tune of a solid 50% win rate. Riot has finally started to throw some real nerfs at Corki this patch, which might finally push him out of our S tier list. Ezreal seems to be the biggest riser since the last patch update, and although he is eating a small nerf here, we don't expect his power level to change drastically. Ashe and Varus remain their usual utility god selves, with their build flexibility, strong laning, and flexibility to support if need be. We would, however, like to remind you to keep an eye on a champ like Miss Fortune, as she rises up the rankings over the next few patches. Our support tier list remains undefeated thus far this season. We hit the nail on the head as far as champions played at first stand, with the exception of Leona being a surprising leader in games played. Rel, Rakan, and Alistar were all heavily featured, being piloted by every support at last stand. There aren't very many meaningful changes to the support pool this patch, so expect to see these champions continue to dominate in both pro and solo queue moving forward. If the most recent international tournament had anything in it, it was the rise of Ezreal and Azir. Ezreal was already seeing a ton of play in solo queue with his new lethal tempo rune setup, but after a strong showing for multiple ADCs like Kalist and Viper, he's definitely solidified himself as one of the best champions in the game. While he does have counters like Kai'Sa, Yasuo, and Ziggs, these matchups aren't completely unplayable, but rather mostly just difficult. Azir's range, playmaking ability, and damage make for easily one of the greatest champions in the history of League of Legends. He's a mainstay in both pro and solo queue alike, and this patch we wanted to give him his flowers. He has build versatility, as he doesn't need to pick up a mana item first, meaning he has a plethora of options, depending on the enemy team. He also has great playmaking potential, with the Shurima Shuffle combo plus Zhonya's, and while he is a great champion no doubt, he does have counters like Taliyah, Xerath, and Vel'Koz. A lot of Azir's counters are kind of niche champions like Xerath and Vel'Koz who use their range to dominate him in lane, but think of picking up a champion like Taliyah if you want a more standard counter.
Are you and your friends looking for some fun new comps to pick up? Let's take a look at some of the best comps for each playstyle. A classic meatball front-to-back protect style comp. These champions excel when placed in a phalanx position around wide open areas, and aim to protect the single strongest member of the pack. A more sporadic, vision-based team comp that excels when ahead. Use your important pick spells and ultimates to find stragglers and force odd number fights. Be wary, however, your comp does struggle in a straight-up front-to-back team fight. Ever feel like full sending it directly onto one person like you're a nuclear warhead? If so, I've got the comp for you. Pick these champions up if you're trying to find those clippable wombo combo teamfights and execute the entire enemy team within a split second. Sometimes you just want to chill, sit back, and throw spells at max range over and over again like you're playing ARAM. If you're interested in something like that, think of picking up a comp like this. While these champions will struggle versus hard engage, if you're able to sit back and stay safe, you'll be able to choke out the enemy team with ease while you chip down their turrets. Split pushing is an art, and when pulled off correctly, it can be one of the most rewarding playstyles imaginable. Use a comp like this if you're trying to pull people around the map like chickens with their heads cut off, and take tower after tower while they look for meaningless little fights.
Thanks for watching the ProComps Meta Forecast. I've been your host and ProComps Meta Expert Coffee, reminding you to like and subscribe and comment down below what you think the next thematic season will be.